The simplest definition is knowing what you have and being able to find it when you need it. That's it. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be a certain way. It doesn't have to be decanted or color coded. Nothing. It just means you know what you have and you're able to find it when you need it. So you're not wasting time searching and, being frustrated and can't find things and buying duplicates and all of that. It's just knowing where it is and you can find it.
Welcome to the Business Edit Podcast, a podcast about redefining productivity for the modern woman in business and finding ways to work smarter, not harder, in business and life. I'm your host, Jade Boyd, an MBA, business minimalist, and productivity coach. I help overwhelmed business owners simplify and scale their service-based businesses by doing less but better. I help my clients create business minimalist strategies and systems that allow them to pursue ambitious goals while working at a human pace. On this podcast, we'll explore simple ways to grow your business with a life-first approach. If you're ready to scale your business, bring order to chaos, ditch the busy work, and spend more time living your life than managing your life, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Business Edit Podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Tracy.
Thanks, Jade. I'm so excited to be here. I love talking about organizing anytime I can. So I'm so thrilled. And you're in the industry and doing kind of the same thing too. So it'll be fun to chat.
Yes, it is always fun to talk with people who are as obsessed with organization as you are. I feel like it's just a special type of conversation. And you're talking a lot about digital organization, which we haven't talked a lot about on the podcast yet. So I am really excited to dig into that. But for anybody who hasn't met you yet, would you mind by just starting off by telling us a little bit more about who you are and what you do, and maybe how you got into doing what you're doing today?
Ooh, yes. I'm Tracy Hoth, and my business is called Simply Squared Away. And it started out in 2008 as an organization business. I'm a professional organizer, so I went into people's homes and their offices and helped them get organized in all the areas. And that started when I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, and I have 4 little kids at the time, and my youngest was going to go to preschool. And I was like, what should I do that's flexible, that I can help people? And I loved organizing. I would rip little pieces of paper out of the magazines and put them in a file. Usually back then it was just closets. But so I started doing that. And then I knew eventually I wanted to get out of it. It was a really physical job and challenging. And as I got older, I was like, this is getting harder. And so I got life coach certified. I was introduced to life coaching in 2017 and got certified in 2018. And then it was so magical how the whole mindset behind organization and your identity and who you identify as combined with all the practical steps, and I'd seen it all. So all those steps together, oh my goodness, I could help anyone get organized without being there. And I slowly transitioned my business online, and I had been growing an email list. So I had a decent sized email list and then started coaching people and being on Zoom and creating plans with them and breaking things down and then really coaching what was keeping them from letting go of things or from taking action when they put something on their calendar, all of that. And then as I grew that business online, I was like, this is hard to keep all this digital stuff organized. And so I had to figure out, like, how do I keep this simple and organize it? I went back to my same old steps and I followed that. I created through trial and error some really simple ways to be digitally organized. And then I started helping coaches and entrepreneurs organize their businesses. So still have both of those branches in my own business.
I'm really curious from your depth of experience over such a long period of time. You said when you first started, it was mostly just closet organization, but now like the organization industry is so big. And I'm curious what trends you've seen from both life coaching and like physical organization that you've seen, because I do feel like we just keep getting bigger and bigger homes and more stuff. And so I'm really curious from your perspective what that has looked like over the course of your career.
Yes. I mean, I think it's been similar, and I would get pictures of closets, but I would help wherever the person needed it. So in all the areas. And I don't know that what we collect has gotten any bigger or different because we're all still, so much stuff is coming into our home. I feel like the topic of organization and decluttering and more minimalizing your stuff has gotten so much more talked about. But then
Mm.
the other side of it, all the beautiful pictures. Like we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have any of that back then, or Pinterest at the time when I started. All of that and the expectation of that's what organization looks like, all of that has put it to the highest level where people feel shame, embarrassment, like they can't ever get it together. It'll never look like that, which is
Mhm.
disappointing. So it's kind of those extremes.
I'm really glad you started there because that was one of the first things that I wanted to clarify when we're talking about organization. I do feel like people have that idea in their head and maybe even for their business or, their digital spaces, what it means to be quote unquote organized. So what does getting organized or being organized mean for you?
The simplest definition is knowing what you have and being able to find it when you need it. That's it. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be a certain way. It doesn't have to be decantered or color coded. Nothing. It just means you know what you have and you're able to find it when you need it. So you're not wasting time searching and, being frustrated and can't find things and buying duplicates and all of that. It's just knowing where it is and you can find it.
So, as business owners, and even if we're specifically talking about digital files or digital tools that we could organize, there's so many different things that we could spend time organizing, and not all of them are actually worth our time to organize. I know that as somebody who loves organizing things, I've been guilty of like, let me just organize everything in my Canva when I could search anything, and it's like such a waste of time. But I'm curious, what would you recommend for the business owner who's kind of looking for like the biggest ROI? What should they organize first?
Yeah. And I think that too about organizing and projects in general and where should you start? I would start with what's causing you the biggest frustration or wasting the most time or what would make you the happiest if you had it organized. So when I'm working with people, there's 2 to 3 areas that I see help them initially the most, which if you can get that jump start, it's exciting. Then you're like motivated and you're seeing results. In the first place I help people is their bookmarks bar
Mm.
or favorites bar, whatever you call it, depending on what browser you're using. But getting that organized, and I like using only the favicons or the icons, having them all on the left side. Then I have my 4 dashboards that I run my business with, and then I have folders. So it's perfectly organized. In the point being that you can just click into what you use the most and need in an instant, in seconds. And so I noticed that so many people have all these tabs open and they're, several different windows open with all these tabs because they're scared that if they close it, they won't be able to find it.
Mhm.
And if you have your bookmarks bar organized in a way that's so simple and it makes sense to your mind and you can find everything, you're able to clear that off, have less distractions. And I even watch people as they're trying to find something that they've left open. The little tab is so skinny, they're clicking into 10 of
Yes.
them, trying to find which one it is that they need. And so I get it. Like I am more real life organized. So we come in the front door, we drop everything on the island and we go back and put it away because everything has a home. But in the moment of life, you might have some piles on there. Same with your computer. You are working on a project and you get distracted or you have to move on to another project and you know you're going to come back to it. So you might have tabs open, which is totally fine. But when you close them out, you know where to find what you need and you can find it quickly.
Other than a bookmarks bar, you said there's like 2 or 3 that come up. What are
Yeah.
those other ones that come up most often?
Yeah. So digital files, I think, is the biggest one. And I use a really simple 5 files to organize your business on your computer, 5 file folders, training your brain over and over to distinguish which of the 5 folders does this item that I'm bringing in or making on my computer or downloading, which one does it go into? Do you want me to tell you
Yes,
what those
let's
are?
dig into that.
So the first one is operations, and some people might call it admin, but anything behind the scenes of your business. The second one is marketing, anything outward facing. The third thing is my content. It's anything I create, all my programs, any freebies, all that might be in there. And then education is anything anybody else creates. all those freebies you download and your coach's program or course or certification that you were in. Everything goes into education. And then the fifth one is clients. So operations, marketing, my content, education, and clients.
I love that. I also have it's actually scarily similar to this,
I
a little
love
bit
that.
different wording, but it is so much easier to find things in Google Drive. And even though Google Drive was never intended to be a system that had folders, like it was just meant to be searchable, it is so much faster to drop documents without having to rename each and every single one of them. And so I agree. I think that organizing Google Drive has been one of like the best, most helpful places that actually helps me save time in my business. I mean, not
Yeah.
organizing Canva, obviously, but I love how simple that is. What has it looked like for your clients who have implemented that process? Because I think a lot of people are sitting on Google Drives that are just like thousands of files with no organization. So, if we're speaking like realistically here, how much time does it take to go from that to five simple folders?
Yeah. Okay. And let me back up just a second because someone might be there. The first step I have them do is make sure they have one place. And so you're talking like you've chosen the Google Drive. That's like where your one place is. If somebody's not on a team, they don't have to get information to anybody. You could start just by doing it on your computer. And the cool thing is, you can use this structure on your computer. You could use it in your Google Drive. You could use it in Canva. And I even use it in my email as folders on the side. And then I might have subfolders in that. But now my brain just knows. It's practiced so much. It knows exactly what to do with these 5 files. And so choose one place as much as possible and just start there by making the file folders and sorting the things into the file folders. And then you said, or you asked how does it affect clients what I see? First, the biggest difference is confidence. Like
Mm.
they now feel, and this is what they've said, they feel more like a CEO because they're not scrambling behind the scenes. They know where things are. They can create things and find what they need quickly. There's a stat out there that you waste 2 hours every day looking for what you need. And just imagine that even plays into like an appointment you would put on your calendar. You're trying to be good with time management. So you have this appointment, you're going to do this task at this certain time. And then a client was like, well, it took me 30 minutes to find something that I needed. So I never did finish the task. Well, then that all plays into you're terrible with time management as
Mhm.
well. And so if you know what you have and you can find it, then you can find what you need and get your task done. So it's so interrelated. But the biggest thing is confidence. One of my clients has went on to write a book because she's freed up all that time that she was spending searching for things. There's so many different ways like they can notice that they have more time because they're not spending it searching. What else? What else have they experienced?
I do feel like it kind of mimics the experience of organizing any physical space where you walk in the room and you're just like, peace. This feels relaxing. This doesn't feel stressful. And I think digital spaces go overlooked often because it's not physical, like you're not walking into that space, but you are using it. And it does affect the way that your stress levels even operate throughout the day if you're running your business and constantly having the stress of, like you said, I have limited time to work on this and I'm spending all my time finding things. That is a huge transformation.
Yes. And they notice then because they're practicing the steps. I have 5 steps too. They spell the word spasm. That's the acronym, and it's just goofy. I've kept it for 17 years, but it's sort, purge, assign homes, set limits, and maintain. So when you're sorting your files and organizing your computer, you're doing those steps I do those with everything. And so they're sorting and purging and assigning homes to these files in their computer. All of that bleeds into, I guess, might be the right way to think of it, into their life. And so I have clients that are like, Tracy, my linen closet, my home, different parts of it, my calendar's more organized. It just affects every area of their life when they focus on this skill, because it's really just a skill that you learn of organizing.
So another thing that you help your clients organize is email. And I do feel like that's one of the most stressful digital spaces to keep on top of as business owners. And I know just the more years I operate my business, the more emails I get. It's kind of insane, especially as a podcast host whose email is public. Like there's so much spam and so much to keep on top of to sort through. And I'm curious, what are your best tips or recommendations for business owners who feel like they are just drowning in email?
Yeah. First, unsubscribe as much as you can. Like that's a high priority. If you have less coming in, you have less that you have to deal with. And that's with everything, like even your stuff in your home and downloading things off the internet, like anything you can stop for a second and say, no, I don't have a home for that. I don't want that. I'm not going to use it right now. It'll be there for me when I need it later. So unsubscribe. And there's different apps and tools that you can use to make that easier. Like you can get it for a month, really focus on the project of minimalizing your email. So that's number one. Unsubscribe and get rid of stuff as much as possible. And then just think of it like processing. And so, same with the steps. The first step is to sort. Sort into maybe a to do folder, like I need urgent, maybe whatever. Sort all your email as fast as you can, deleting everything. And I mean, people send you stuff. You are not responsible to reply back to people's emails. Like that wasn't your priority. So just delete it, delete things and unsubscribe or block or move into the spam as much as possible. And then process through the rest of it and use those same 5 folders, use the 5 organizing steps. So you sort and then you're going to purge, you're going to go through, you're going to assign homes. Does that take more than a couple minutes to do? Then put it on a point in your calendar or schedule like process or deal with email at a certain time of your day or your week. And then you go back to that folder that has the things you actually have to do and go through there and do those.
I love that. I pre-kids used to get to inbox zero every single day. And so I feel like I'm relearning what my email processes are. And one of the things that has been most helpful for me is just like I don't enjoy email in terms of like responding to spam messages and like sorting through the things, all the promotions. There's like the occasional email from a past client, like those bright spots in my inbox. But overall, I would rather avoid it besides the few people that I enjoy hearing from. And so, from my perspective as a business owner, something that I've been trying to do really intentionally is to build my business to never actually rely on email for any of the urgent things, like communication with clients, for example. I want all of that to not be an email. So I don't have to check it every
Yeah.
single day. And that has been really helpful for me because there are different seasons of business. And I do think that checking it regularly, like I said, I used to be in that season and it worked really, really well. But it's also okay. I'm just speaking to the person who's listening, who's thinking like that's not realistic for me. Like it's also okay to change that expectation in different seasons.
Oh, 100%. And the thought behind it is just knowing that you are going to have what you need when you need it. That's
Hmm.
part of it. Like, if you believe that initially, then you'll know that if you don't respond right back, or if you have too many emails in there, or whatever it is, that you will have that. It gives you just so much more calmness versus like having to go back in. But I notice, like, just to be upfront, I am checking my own email. I mean, and I just read something this morning, I think, that said, once you reach a certain point, one of the things you can do to help with your business is get out of your email. Have someone else do that. Well, I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I can see where it is taking up so much more time than like if I wasn't doing that, I could see where I could be working on things that are higher priority for sure. So
Yeah.
it is the reality of it's tough.
And
And
it
that's
is
why
hard to even track how much time you're spending because I actually do really enjoy having everything in one inbox. So I forward all of my email accounts to the same inbox to check, which helps me not have to log into like 5 different places to only have one place to check. But then it's really hard to tell like how much time am I spending on personal email versus work email, like how much time am I spending reading newsletters from creators that I just personally enjoy reading versus important emails that I need to field for the podcast. And without tracking your time, it is really easy, I think, to underestimate how much time you do spend on email every single week.
That's so true. And I was just thinking with that, that could be a sort where you sort into a read folder. And so you're just, when you're first going in your email, you sort it into the buckets that you want, but that might be one of them.
Are there any like third party email organization platforms that you would recommend or that you use with your clients?
Now I can't remember what it is because I don't do it often enough, but there's one that one of my clients used that I've recommended to some other ones. Maybe I can try to find that and have it in the show notes.
For sure.
And then there's so many AI ones that I'm not on top of yet because I haven't needed to do that quite yet. But there's so many people that are really into that where they use those on their emails and they sort them. That's kind of the part that it does. It sorts them initially. And so you
Mhm.
don't have to do that sort. But it again, it's like that's what you're learning is sorting into categories. And then you as the owner just haven't had to sort. And then you go back into those categories.
I've also noticed recently in G Suite, at least that version of Gmail, you can summarize the email. So you don't even have to read the whole thing. You can just say, hey, summarize this for me, which has been super helpful, honestly. And even I've noticed recently on my Apple Watch, it'll summarize text messages instead of showing me the whole thing, which at first
Yeah.
seemed really, really weird. It's like, Sarah is saying this, and like, that's weird. Did she text me third person? What's happening here? But you're right, things are changing so quickly, which I mean, it's kind of exciting. There's pros and cons, but for the business owner who's interested in taking advantage of what AI has to offer, I think there are some really cool things coming on the horizon for that.
And I do think with that, don't jump into something. Learn how to do it in using the steps so your brain is practicing that. And then as they change and as they come up so quickly, I mean, go to someone that you trust to be able to help you decide this is it. But I always say get organized first and then
Mm.
move into a new app because that app's going to take time for you to get used
Yeah.
to and learn and all of that.
And it really is always like the shiny thing that we want to go
Yeah.
to first of like, oh, that's brand new and shiny. And let me just do that instead of the real work.
Yes, and I'm constantly like, "Tracy, you do not need that app, and it's eventually gonna charge you, or it might
Hmm.
start out charging you." I'm like, "I don't need another thing to pay every month when I can sort quickly, unsubscribe, minimize it as much as I can, and be fine."
So on the topic of, some of those things that prevent us from actually getting organized, I'm really curious as a life coach how you see mindset or maybe like bad habits preventing people from, especially entrepreneurs, from becoming organized. So like what are some of those common things that you see and how have you helped your clients overcome that?
The main thing is your identity. Like, who do you identify as? So, for example, a client said she had a messy room and she had her mom tell her when she was younger that she was messy. So she identified as someone who was messy and that came with her. Even though, like, talking with her, I could ask her questions about, like, how was it at work? And she would be like, oh, I was really organized at work. And then she was like, I really was good at I think she said planning vacations or something like that, down to the meticulous details. And I'm like, huh, that's really interesting. Then why do you think that you're messy here? And so identifying areas that you are organized, even if it's, something as simple as you schedule with one of my clients, it was like, oh, I find people to help and I schedule things done that I need to. And I'm like, that's organized, knowing what
Hmm.
you have and being able to find it when you need it. And so the helping them see that. So the identity is really big and how if you are organized, even if you have to imagine someone that is, how does that person think and how do they act and what do they believe about themselves and slowly be shifting to that becoming that person. So I think mindset wise, that's the big aspect of it. And when you're thinking you're here and you want to become that organized person, what is the obstacle or the thing keeping you? And it's usually a skill gap where you just don't know the skill. And so many times people are like, I should be able to do this. I should be able to get this together on my own.
Hmm.
I shouldn't need to ask for help. And I'm like, why not? You haven't been taught the skill and you haven't practiced that skill. So there's every reason to believe like that's okay that you don't have that skill yet. Or it's a mindset gap. It's like something they're believing, something they're that's keeping them from taking that action, from getting over there, becoming that person. And we just break those down.
So, other than identifying ways that they are organized, like tangibly showing themselves how they are organized in their actual life, are there any other tips that you or like tricks that you go through with your clients to help them like reframe that identity? Because shifting your identity is just it's really difficult to do.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love the practical steps. So we can look for those ways initially. We can also look for their thoughts, that what they have, and break those down. Like really break each word down, each part of that, to show them, that's not, might not even be true.
Mm.
But then I like to build evidence as we go. So if we're doing, like with a client this week, I had him do the bookmarks bar. We sat, did it together, shared screens. And by the end of a 55-minute session, she's literally like, this is amazing. Like, I didn't even know this. I'm going to be able to find things so fast. And so her mindset shift in less than an hour was just crazy. So
Mhm.
I love helping people build that evidence to show them, even if it's the 5 folders. Like, I just made 5 folders on my thing. My brain understands it. You could print it out, hang it behind your monitor, and see that evidence. Like, I can do this. And so keep building evidence along the way.
So, similar to physically organizing spaces, you mentioned the trend of, the aesthetically pleasing environments that are for many people unrealistic or, a high goal for somebody who's just starting out. And I think in our digital spaces too, we can like waste time on things that we think that we should be doing or maybe look aesthetically pleasing but don't actually help us. I'm curious if there are any of like specific things that come to mind that you see people wasting time on when it comes to organizing businesses.
Well, I always say, because all of us could kind of tend, that's easy and it's behind the scenes and you're kind of hiding while you do that. So I would say, get your revenue producing activities done first, 100%. And then think of organizing like a project. You're going to start this quarter, you're going to, at the end of the quarter, this is what you're going to have accomplished. So you have a start and an end date. It's a project that you're working on. And then with anything, you can clean it up and make it pretty as you go. But really, get the essential things started and going, have those on your calendar, and then in your free time, go back in. And I love having color coded like main folders on my Google Drive or even on my computer. I have a business and a personal file, and my personal file has a little house, and my business file has my logo. And it's so fun and cute. It makes me happy. But you do that after you've done your revenue producing activities and then as a reward, kind of.
I love that. Do you have a tutorial for that we could link on how to change your logo to the folder?
Ooh,
'Cause
I
if you do,
do.
I would love to link that.
Yeah, I'll link that.
Not to encourage all of our listeners to immediately go for the aesthetically pleasing thing, but
It's so fun, though. It
we
does
went the
make it.
opposite direction of the question that I was asking.
Yeah, look at you. That's fun, though. It is. It's super easy.
What systems or habits in terms of upkeep do you recommend for keeping digital spaces organized? Because it's one thing to organize it one time, but it's another thing to not like mess it up again and get to the same place.
Totally. So then, looking at it as a project, we have 12 weeks. We're going to get our whole computer business organized at the end of 12 weeks. So the first steps, sort and purge, those are like the declutter steps. And then assign homes and set limits. Those are the organizing steps. And the fifth one, maintain, that's the habit step. So whenever we talk about maintain, I like to tie it to something that you already do. So if that's closing your computer on a Friday afternoon, when you're going to close your computer, you're going to go through and clean up your files. You're going to go through and maybe make sure your to-do folder in your email has been completed or emptied or whatever. So whatever little things like that you need to do, maybe it's check your 12-week goals. And maybe that's when you open your computer every week. You go in and check your dashboard of your goals or whatever you're using. So tie it to something that you already do, and then make sure you have reminders, because in the beginning, you're not going to remember to do that. So set some reminders, put a little sticky note up if you need to, have someone be accountable with you, have you check in, get a coach that helps you do that, whatever it is that you need to support yourself as you develop these new skills and habits.
And it sounds like it basically just comes down to the basic science of habit formation. Like it's got to be a habit. It's got to be automatic and simple enough that you can do it consistently. Because when you make it this like big thing that has to be done, it does become overwhelming and then we avoid it,
Yeah.
especially if you don't like doing it.
Yes. And that's something like in my Organized Coach Academy, one of the calls we do every month is a co-working call. And you could use that because it's lifetime access. You could use that every month to maintain. So it doesn't even have to be every week. What about every month? You just schedule that on your calendar. You're co-working so people can see you're sitting there doing it. And then you get that work done to maintain it.
Yes, I absolutely love that. Accountability, co-working, we could all
Yes.
use that. I actually just co-worked with somebody this morning and it
Oh,
was great. And I actually did declutter everything. I went through my downloads folder and again,
nice.
something I
Look
used
at
to do
you.
every week and now it's more like once a month, but it got done. So gold
Yeah.
star for me.
Yes. I love it.
Well, in closing, Tracy, I'm wondering what is one thing that's been simplifying your life recently? And it could be business or personal.
Ooh, that is such a good question. I think dropping some expectations. Like, we all have routines or systems in place, but I always tell people you have a system. It's not like you don't have a system, but that system might not be what you think it should be or what you want it to be. So, for example, in my life, do I have a laundry system? When I see my basket is getting to the top, I just go do laundry. I don't do it on a certain day. Like that is my system and that works. And so I think same with my business and work. It's like dropping those expectations that I need to use AI on my email, that I need to use this certain, new app or project management system. It's just like, no, realize that it's working and I have a system and I don't need to change anything. And so I
Yeah,
think that's been really helpful for me.
I think the most successful or maybe easiest to maintain systems do feel a little bit invisible. And I love the example you gave of the laundry basket because it's not something that takes effort. It's just like you have time to do it when it needs to be done. And I do a similar thing with our laundry. So I can relate a lot to that specific one. But it doesn't have to be like a big to do, super structured. This is the day of the week that it has to
Yeah.
get done. Because I do feel like the more things that you force yourself to do that with, the more tasks on your to do list that feel like a task on your to-do list rather than something that just like naturally happens, the more exhausting life and business become overall. So I'm really glad that you shared that piece of advice.
Well, I like how you said it seems invisible. That's such a good term. I haven't heard that. So I love that. And for everyone to recognize, especially laundry, because I've been in so many people's homes and they might be thinking, I hate laundry. It's my
Yes.
nemesis. There's so many people. I think just recognize that then you have it in something else and reward yourself and recognize it and be proud the fact that you have it somewhere and what from that can you pull into using in maybe one other area that you want to make some changes in.
Yes. That was the perfect place to end. So for anybody who's interested in learning more from you, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, my website is simply squaredaway.com. You can find everything on there. And then also the Organized Coach podcast, you can listen to it. I have business and personal and life and all sorts of stuff on there.
And we will absolutely link all of those things in the show notes. So thank you so much again for being here today, Tracy.
Thank you, Jade, for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Edit podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd be so grateful if you take a screenshot and share it on Instagram, tagging me at jadeboyd.co. I'm on a mission to empower a new generation of women to become the types of wives, moms, and business owners that they've always wanted to be. Because empowered women change their families and communities for the better, and this is how we'll change the world. Sharing your takeaways from this episode on Instagram will help more women in business discover helpful episodes and level up in life and business each week. Don't forget to check out the show notes for the tools and resources mentioned in today's episode, because good ideas don't grow businesses. Action does. I'll see you next time on the Business Edit podcast.